When I first came up with the idea to do an all shovel playthrough, I thought it was going to look a little bit something like this. And that solitary scream was the one voice in my head motivating me to answer the question, can you beat Fallout New Vegas with only a shovel? We start off as usual in Doc Mitchell's house, fail to name our character with no access to a keyboard, pick a soldier looking guy, put most of our points into strength, agility, endurance, and pick our selected skills of speech for the early game, medicine and melee weapon. We pick skilled for the extra skill points and heavy handed to do as much damage as possible. We take our first steps out into the Mojave Desert, watch Chet murder a fly on the back of his head, and pick our weapon of choice for this playthrough. Now, based on my boxing tape challenge, I feel like the shovel one won't be impossible, so we're going to take away some of the stuff we used in the last playthrough, like the implants at the New Vegas clinic. I feel like that made it a little bit too easy in the endgame. Now, something that I've never noticed in this opening scene is that if you look at the fence, there actually is no bottles sitting there, but by the time you turn around they're all set up. I tried using my shovel to destroy the bottles this time, as I know the boxing tape didn't work, so I just wanted to see if a melee weapon will do a different thing. It did not. So I ended up executing the bottles military style, and then realised that that was a very shameful act for this playthrough, and instead choose to run away without ever turning in the quest after shooting those bottles out of pure shame and disgust for my shovel family. I use the shovel for its intended purposes and actually dig up the graves in the Goodsprings Cemetery, grab the snow globe for later, and choose to re-customize my character because if you re-pick skilled one more time, you get the same 5+ on every stat. On this playthrough I chose not to go the way of Prim as I did last time and chose to go towards Hidden Valley. I find an absolute haul next to the Yangtze Memorial, which could do a grave robber playthrough, heal up Snuffle's legs for being a good boy, and make my way through Hidden Valley to begin my journey up the Black Mountain. Put the shovel to the test against the evolved centaurs, defeat Mo, and take a moment to admire the beautiful nature of the Black Mountain Pass. I glitch my way through a nice little fence, steal a toy car, and decide to flip all the switches on the tower just to see what happens. Nothing happened. I decided to make my way down Black Mountain, where I actually received my first death from a group of super mutants that I did not know was waiting for me. Say hi to Neil and thank him for the warning, and immediately curse his name as he did not warn me about the group of Deathclaws down here waiting to ambush me. Here I would receive my second death in very quick succession of the playthrough. I take a slightly smarter route this time up the side of the mountains, as I know that the Deathclaws mapping will not be able to get them up here to fight me. I could see the lights of Vegas by nighttime, and decided before I hit the monorail that I might as well test my shovel against the strongest opponent I could think of. Driver in the Phi has a very similar kind of build that I have. One man with one weapon, and I believe the shovel is stronger than the 9-iron, like the pen is mightier than the sword. However, I am immediately put to the test, and by put to the test, I mean I am immediately humbled. Driver in the Phi is no joke. He has huge health pools, and about one swing of his 9-iron takes out about 1/5 of my health, and this results in my third death of the game. My next attempt goes a little bit better. I decide to take out his fiends that surround him first before I attack him head on, as having them distracting me is not ideal for this fight. Annoyingly, he still gets the better of me of this, even though as you can see in the gameplay, his swing is nowhere near me. My third attempt now on Driver Mafai, and I use the exact same method, get rid of all his fiend backup. I sped up the gameplay here so we can see just how long this fights take. I have to use real tactics now. I have to block, I have to back up, I have to make sure I'm using my health and regenerating as much as I can, because again I feel like I tackled this far too early and was immediately humbled by this fight. Through a lot of dwindling down and regenerating my own health, I finally take down the Phi with VATS. I take his head as a show of dominance, and report back to the Major the very positive news that I have been able to bury someone with a shovel. Which doesn't sound that impressive, but believe me, it was if you watch the fight. I take a hop, skip and a jump into the monorail, and finally make my way onto the strip, meeting Victor for only the second time in this playthrough. I take a moment to take in all the sights of New Vegas, and immediately walk over to the gunrunners to upgrade my armor. I decide to grab the Combat Armor Reinforced Mark II, as I believe getting as much defense as is possible early in the game is good, because the driver in the firefight showed me that my health will go very fast and the shovel isn't that strong. I decided to go back to Goodsprings so I can make my way to Prim, as having access to Major Knight early on in the game will be good for keeping my armour and weapons fully conditioned. It's at this moment that I realised that if I just started the game by taking my way through Prim, I'd have probably have skipped a lot of backtracking that I didn't need to do. I drop into Lieutenant Hayes' tent so I can get the mission to bring Law back to Prim, as I believe Prim Slim this playthrough isn't the rightful sheriff, or the rightful cowboy, as I think I'll be siding with the NCR. On my way to the Mojave Outpost, I decide to take the long way around the desert, as I want to drop off in Nipton first so I can turn in the quest straight away when I arrive at the Mojave Outpost. In these long parts in the playthrough, it gives you a moment to start to think, what kind of gameplay will this be, what side to take, what's the most appropriate for this playthrough, and you keep to think and asking these, what?
Nando! There's a ghost on the front lawn.
What? That Jackal gang member, no joke, just popped out of thin air during this playthrough. When I was playing this, I was lying in bed and genuinely jumped when I saw that. Jackal Ghost aside, I decided to give Oliver Swank his appropriate death, and decided to give the same death to Vulpus and Coulter, because as I said, I was playing as the NCR this playthrough. As I did Caesar last time, I don't feel the need to keep on Caesar's good side at all. I immediately turn the quest into Ranger Ghost, and get this horrible feeling that I've been getting followed. And again, out of nowhere, old Malcolm Holmes is starting to run at me, so I do the same action. I start swinging that shovel so he can't talk to me, and bury him where he belongs. On top of getting all my items fixed by Major Knight, I decide to also turn in the NCR quest to bring Law back to Prim. Get the quest for the ants I don't intend to do, and I'll turn back to Lieutenant Hayes to let him know that Prim is now in the hands of the NCR. I speak to Mr. House for the one and only time so I can get the NCR trooper to come and give me the quest to meet Ambassador Crocker, and have PTSD flashbacks to the Jackal Ghost as he comes out of thin air again. Ambassador Crocker sends me off to meet people his own age. I decide to murder this angered cow. I enjoyed it so much I did it again. And I'm now unable to distinguish man from cow. I navigate the exploding artillery by the only way I know, hop, skip and hug the wall. Explain to Raquel that wasn't very nice. And begin the part of the playthrough where I wasted the most amount of time in my own life. I decide to rob an old lady of her armour, head over to the hospital, which was accidentally a schoolhouse, and get absolutely swarmed by children, and eventually meet Argyle and realise that I am one medicine point short of being able to do his quests. I instead go to take the snow globe and spin around with the free camera when I'm listening to poor... what's his name again? Pete. His name is Pete. After being inspired by the story of their people, I decide to go murder a bunch of ants in their name. And it's at this moment that I realise that I should have just asked Loyal for his detonator, because I didn't know that the ants spawn in one by one as you kill them. I make one of the dumbest mistakes here, as I only add 1 point to medicine to match the 40, forgetting that I need 50 and 60 to be able to help all the people in the hospital. For some reason I just forgot that and waste them in barter. I then go on and pass the medicine check with Argyle and help the one and only patient I'm able to treat. I have just realised my mistake in the gameplay, speak to Argyle to see if there's anything he can do. It's at this moment that I remember there's a much more morally justified thing I can do rather than help sick people in the hospital. I can just head over to Jack and sell him some scrap metal. On top of selling him scrap metal, I can sell him back his own scrap metal, so not only am I not helping the sick, I'm also stealing from them, which to me is a win-win. I get a notification that I've completed enough quests for the Boomer and can return to Pearl. She sends me straight back to where I was coming from so I can go raise the plane for Loyal. I fast travel to the closest point near the lake, and at this point I thought I'll quickly sleep to regain my health, and I am rudely interrupted during my nap by Legion assassins. To which point I was a bit confused, but then I remembered that I wiped out everyone at Nipton, which wasn't too good for them. This fight takes its sweet time. There's a lot of armor to whittle down, but I eventually get there after seeing they'd murdered all the people, so I just take another quick nap. I quickly mark Camp Golf on the map as I'll need it for later. Take a nice relaxing swim as the sun sets, which was actually quite a beautiful sight in New Vegas, and eventually put the ballist? How do you say that word? I'm not sure. But anyway, I attach them both to both sides of the plane before I nearly drown myself and lose all of my health. I even have to stop to regain some of my health as I really overestimated just how long my character could hold his lungs underwater. I potentially failed the run by using Loyal's detonator, and if I have, please leave a comment below. Tell Loyal the good news. And after killing a few ants, listening to one Pete, and raising a plane from the water, and selling their own scrap, Pearl decides that she'll agree to blow up any of my enemies for me. Ambassador Crocker is so happy with my work, he decides to assign me a secret mission to murder someone without them knowing it was the NCR. God bless America. I give Pacer a quick wink, speak to the king, and my first thoughts for this playthrough was that I was going to complete all of the king's quests, the diplomatic way, help out the king and resolve the issues with the NCR. I did however have a change of heart. Pacer tried to rob me. The quests for the king take a long time and there's a lot of talking. So it's at this moment that I realise a very, very important lesson in life.
I'd go myself, but I can't be fucked.
Instead of helping Julie, I decide to rob her and steal Pacer's patient file. That problem that I had before about my medicine being too low rears its ugly head again. I then remember that if I just pop into the talks for 2 seconds and have a look at Benny, I can gain a lot of XP very fast and level up. This level up gives me just enough points to get within 10 of 60 for medicine, so I can spike his jet and, well, you know, murder him for stealing 50 cats, as he deserves. I take my today's physician, I spike the jet with Psycho, committing assassination in the secret name of a government. I have one look at King and one look at Pacer before he eventually dies, and come back to the scene of the crime to speak to the king as he mourns the death of Pacer. Just for, you know, the fun of it. Ambassador Crocker is so delighted with the fact that I pulled off an assassination for him that he even tells me that I can go speak to the colonel and get even more high profile missions. I get quickly sidetracked as I want to finish off the free bounties for the major. Continue my large volume of killing kills this playthrough, which I didn't realise when I was recording it, but after watching it back is higher than usual, I must admit. And watch Cuckoo take out his own fiend friend so I could attack him from the back, and literally flip him up with the shovel and slap him back down. I turn his head back into the major, which is nice, well, medium rare cooked, and I'm still scared to say his second name as I have no idea how to pronounce it. Violet turns out to be the easiest of the three, as I always felt like her weapon was always the weakest. Major Daugherty. Is that right? Anyway, after embarrassing myself, I decided to go for a nice swim towards Hoover Dam. It's here where I get an unexpected death, as I always thought that the Mire Kings couldn't really shoot you through the water. I thought they would just follow you in and swim behind you and not really hit you, but I'm shocked to see that I get sniped from a pretty far distance away and just lie there floating in the water. I choose a different waypoint to fast travel to. It's a little bit longer to walk there, but it's a whole lot safer, I must admit. Decide to stop off in Boulder City, pretty much just for shits and giggles, just so I can murder all the cans. I am then reminded that the very first quest that Colonel Moore gives you is to go off and talk to the cans, which I just murdered a huge group of them not 5 minutes ago. This, however, doesn't seem to have had an effect on the cans. I know that my reputation is vilified with them, but when I approach most of the cans, they don't even start off as hostile, they start off as neutral, to which gives me a big drop on them. This continues even as I get close to Papa Khan's house. I've just murdered someone in their camp, and this great Khan still doesn't see an issue with me walking around with my shovel of doom. It's at moments like this where I realise that the Khans can't blame anyone for their situation at this point. I have murdered a group of them in Boulder City. I have killed 2 of them as I've reached this camp, and I'm now standing in their house for hours in the corner staring at them with a shovel, and no one even stands up. Being called a cub entering their lion's den after murdering a couple lions seems like a very weird turn of phrase, Papa Khan, so I decide to do the most evil thing. I steal a fresh pair. That doesn't seem to really affect anything, you know. Regis just comes up, takes it back. So I decide to commit a much worse crime and steal a beer. To which point everyone stands up and starts shooting at me. It wasn't the murder that got them to attack me. It wasn't stealing their pair. It wasn't walking up to Papa Khan himself. It was stealing his beer, which turned them all against me. But even as I leave the house, Jerry the Punk still isn't hostile towards me. The great cans surrounding him aren't hostile towards me. And you know where you can find sympathy for the cans? Between shit and syphilis in the dictionary, because these people don't make sense. And the cherry on top of the cake, when you turn in the quest for murdering all the cans, you receive great can fame. You gain fame for that. Colonel Moore at this point sends me off to speak to Lizzie O'Malley so I can speak to some reasonable gangsters with the O'Meras. The receptionist spills the beans on Caccino, so I steal his secret diary and sell it straight back to him, becoming his best friend. I start off by talking to Troy, thinking I'm going to do this quest the long way, but there's a little voice in the back of my head that just keeps reminding me of what I should really be doing.
I'd go myself, but I can't be fucked.
I do the much quicker route of stealing Claydon's key, stealing Claydon's snuff tape, and convincing him to leave altogether, speeding this quest up by probably 20 minutes. Caccino informs me it's time to cut the head off the snake and to take out the bosses of the house, but I decide to go get my shovel. But then I realize I can't get in the door. The Gomorrah security guard doesn't have the key either, so I just have to go to the meeting room, tail between my legs, and sit down on the couch and try to fight Big Sal without a weapon. My first attempt at this goes kinda strange. Caccino opens the door out as he dies, so I decide to run away. I'm thinking if I leave the casino and then come back in with my shovel, then I'll have my weapon equipped and I can start fighting them on my terms. But as I'm sure you guys are noticing at this current moment, I'm not able to move. I truly cannot move anything. And as you can see, I just randomly get accepted by the strip, which means the people within the casino have killed Big Sal and Nero. But again, I still can't move. The greeter hasn't came back. I'm just going to chalk this up to Fallout New Vegas being Fallout New Vegas. My second attempt after successfully completing the mission goes a little bit differently. This time the door is not open, and I can tell by this is that Caccino has to be the one that opens the door. So I decide to load my successful save, the one where I had successfully done it, and again I'm unable to move. Now I think I can probably guess what this bug is. I think it's probably the fact that the greeter is still alive that the game won't allow me to move. Because as I said, the greeter is alive. The game reads him as being alive.
You're a regular fucking master sleuth.
So the game is obviously waiting for the greeter to interact with me, but the problem is the greeter has went off to kill Big Sal, so he's unable to talk to me. I decide to try and reenact the first save and push Caccino into the door so he's able to open it. And this goes much better. He's able to take them both out without me having to lift a finger, and I'm able just to rob them blind. Caccino could not be happier with me not lifting a finger during that fight, and I report back to Colonel Moore with the fantastic news. She is so happy, in fact, she wants me to kill someone even more important. But before I do that, I thought I'd steal some Chinese stealth armor, head over to Camp Golf so I can pick up the Lucky 38 VIP keycard that you need to see Mr. House if he is not too friendly with you. Yeah, I'm sure for most people out there they didn't know that even existed, but yeah, if you go to Camp Golf, you can go to Chief Hanlon's desk and he for some reason has the keycard that allows you to break in to Mr. House's chamber. It seemed really odd the first time I found it, but I don't think many people are aware of it. I take a moment to tell on the NCR to Mr. House, and I show him why I am the real Ace of Spades. I am now starting to get a real vibe from the NCR that no matter who I kill, she's just going to send me to kill someone even bigger, and this time it's the Brotherhood of Steel. It's at this point I realise that I'm one level behind getting the Pierce and Strike perk, and in an effort to kill all the ants for Ranger Jackson, I get attacked again by another Legion Assassin squad. This time though it's quite good because they kill most of the ants for me and then I kill all of them, and actually that's enough to even level me up, to the point where I don't even have to go back and tell Ranger Jackson the good news. As I said, I take the Pierce and Strike perk, head over to Hidden Valley. It's at this point that I realise that the Pierce and Strike perk doesn't go through Brotherhood of Steel power armor. It might not go through any power armor, and I've realised that I have now wasted even more time. My second attempt fighting the Brotherhood, and it goes just as well as the first attempt. And so if perks won't get me the win, I know that Psycho will. Taking out the Brotherhood wasn't actually that difficult after this point. I feel like the Psycho and the Jet and stuff like these kind of chems, they make the game maybe a little bit too easy, similar to the implants in my last playthrough of the boxing tape. I think the more and more I do these challenges, the more and more restrictions I'm going to start putting on myself, because as you saw, my first two attempts I just get completely bodied by the Brotherhood Knights just at the top floor. But after taking some Psycho and constantly regenerative stim packs, I'm pretty easy to go through most of the entire bunker without dying. I finally reached the bottom floor where Elder McNamara is, and at this point it's just a case of swinging and swinging and swinging until I can get all their keycards. You might notice that something's happened to my hand on the shovel. I'm not sure what caused this bug, but I think it might have something to do with the zap glove. I think one of the scribes has a zap glove. I think most of the scribes have zap gloves. And when they electrocute you, I think your hands do this kind of motion. And the fact that my left hand's always kind of visible is why we can see the really weird way my guy's holding the shovel. I get the first 2 keycards from Hardin and McNamara in the right side of the bunker. I then head over to get Head Scribe Taggart, who does not do the Brotherhood justice here because he runs and he cowers. Everyone around him is dead and all he can do is run and hide. But I take his keycard and I generate the password to start the self-destruct sequence. At this point you're probably thinking, this is a little bit overkill, isn't it? You've already killed most of the people, there's probably only a couple recruits left. But as it's a shovel playthrough, I think it would be very fitting to make sure that I bury the entire Brotherhood in their bunker, as to continue with the theme of the episode. This time I turn on the quest. Colonel Moore doesn't want me to kill another person, she actually wants me to save someone. A nice change of pace, I must admit. However, this is where I would encounter my biggest bug of the playthrough. For some reason, Ranger Grant isn't giving me the quest, isn't starting the quest. At this point, Ranger Grant would usually run to you, let you know that we're going to protect the president, but every time I talk to him, I only get the option to say goodbye. I decide to quickly load the save after I'd spoken to Colonel Moore, but the same thing is happening again. Ranger Grant just won't initiate or begin the quest for me. It's really kind of frustrating at this point. I tried waiting at Hoover Dam, which is something you normally can't do during this quest anyway, so it's kind of like letting me know, confirming the fact that there's a bug, that I've not missed something important. Attacking Ranger Grant also didn't fix the bug. I mean, well, he started being active and, doing stuff again, so kind of fixed the bug, but not in the way that I wanted, and I end up getting blown up for my troubles. I unfortunately have to bite the bullet and reload an old save back to the Brotherhood bunker. I have to redo my mass genocide again of the Brotherhood, with Head Scribe Taggart even still scurrying away with people around him fighting. I initiate the self-destruct and I decide, instead of standing there to kill everyone, I just want to run through the crowd. The first time doing it, I enjoyed going through the Brotherhood, I enjoyed fighting them and feeling the challenge, but when you're redoing it because of a bug, I don't know, there just seems to be more of a let's get this over with kind of feel, and I just bury them all instead of fighting them all. Colonel Moore's reaction doesn't change, whether you murder them all or just bury them all. And this time, luckily, Ranger Grant is working. He turns around and gives me the quest and moves it along just as he's supposed to do. We get ready for the vertibird to arrive. I quickly steal the detonator from the engineer, show it to Ranger Grant, and attack the engineer before he even got a chance to stab anyone. Watched as the president flew away safely in his vertibird, and reported the good news back to Colonel Moore. It's at this point that I'm ready to get into the endgame and go to meet General Lee Oliver. At this stage of the game there's no more perks that I really need, and I stocked up on plenty of stim packs before I started the mission, so I feel pretty confident I'll be able to defeat the Legate without too much hassle. The only real concern I have is my armor breaking before I get to the Legate, but I'm sure I'll be able to pick up some different armors along the way. This very interesting looking man in a red jumpsuit lets me know there's somebody at the door for me. It just turns out that the Legion's already made its way into the dam and is fighting the NCR. At this stage I do see the real value in the Piercing Strike. A lot of these Centurions and Legionary recruits get knocked down really easy with the shovel, and I'm doing tons of damage at this point as well. You can even see at this point I'm stuck in a very tight hallway, and they've all got super sledges and stuff, but even then I'm just swinging and swinging and these guys are getting knocked down every couple seconds and I'm taking their health up pretty quick. I see 2 NCR heavies just, doing their best work inside of the offices. My fear about my armor is starting to come true. I had actually repaired this right before this mission, and it goes so fast with all the Centurions and Legionaries who are constantly hitting you with melee attacks. So at this point I agree to allow the NCR Veteran Rangers to follow me through the bridge. Not because I think I need the support, up until this point it's been pretty easy, but I'm kind of hoping that if they all kind of die, I'll be able to take their armor and use it in the final fight. I reached the gate without much issues. I play a really weird game of golf with this Praetorian guard, as if he's blocking all these shots. I'm trying to pot him into a hole here. See, two NCR Rangers make their way for the legate knowing that it's not going to end too well for them. And I continually swing so the legate can't engage in conversation with me. This is just to make the fight go a little bit quicker. My first attempt doesn't go so well. The Praetorian guards constantly get in my way, and Legate Lanius's attacks they cripple so quickly and knock you down that I get my first death pretty fast. My second attempt and I make the same mistake. The Praetorian guards are just swarming. I can't even get close to the legate. And when I do, he immediately knocks me down. This results in another quick death in this final fight. Time to change the strategy. At this time I decide I'm going to go around the camp first and I'm going to take out any legionaries that I can see, just so when I come to fight the legate they're not tailing me the whole fight. I start my third fight the same way, just swinging and swinging so the legate can't engage in any dialogue. At this point you might notice something a bit different. So I'm stuck in Vats here and I'm trying to hit the legate while he's down. I'm getting a few good shots in and the Praetorian guard are trying to get to me. But when I come out of Vats, I'm on a completely different rock. I'm on the opposite side of where the legate's tent is. You can see I've somehow floated all the way to the other side of the camp with I have no idea how. So I just jump down, try to open the gate, notice I can't actually get out until they start running in. They all start swarming on top of me, and as I'm sure you're seeing, this run was cursed from the beginning, as I start bugging up and I start flying through the sky. At this point I thought I could just start walking, but then I start to fall pretty fast, and yep, as you can probably guess, results in my third death of this attempt. Here's my fourth attempt. This one goes better than I could have possibly imagined. I start by beating the legate, but at no point does he ever turn red. He's constantly in, almost like he's in like a friendly position, you know, the yellow text is still there. So eventually it does turn to red. And there's only two Praetorian guards, but for some reason, as you can see, the legate just starts to, well, leg it. And I must admit, as this character, I don't dig that. The legate for some reason starts taunting in the corner, which is I think the same animation he does when you meet him when you take the Legion's side, and then he gets glitched into this wall. This has been the easiest the legate fight has ever been for me, and luckily the bugs were on my side this time. I take his helmet, and I put it on with some NCR Ranger combat armor, as my armor is not doing so good anymore. I just want to take this moment to go through a scenario. Imagine you are the Legion soldiers here, and a man has walked in. He has murdered your legate and put on his mask and started swinging his shovel right for you. I can't imagine a more intimidating sight than that. With the final legionary finished, we just have to wait for General Lee Oliver, proving that you can win Fallout New Vegas with just a shovel. And I want to take a moment to discuss this run. I do believe that it was quite easy at points. The only kind of tough fights that I had were the legate and the Brotherhood. And I feel like for my next run, I probably don't want to use stuff like chems. I don't want to be buying armor too early. I kind of want to use armor that you find throughout the game. So if you guys have any suggestions for me, please leave them in the comments, because I want to do these challenges, but you know, make them a challenge, because just doing them kind of, you know, one weapon runs actually don't pose that much when you spec into it correctly. With the challenge now officially over, I just want to take this moment to thank anyone who's made it to this point in the video. I would really appreciate it if you could leave a comment down below, just so I can see the people who have made it this far. I'd also want to remind you guys to like the video and subscribe, as I will be trying to release a Fallout challenge at least once or twice a month at this point, because you know what, I really enjoy recording the gameplay, and I have a lot of fun editing it as well. So, and also if you guys have suggestions, like I said before, please leave them down below. Thanks guys, and see you next time.